Hey there Facebook, it is Vanessa here again, your motivational speaker, trainer and head coach from Live, Love, Give. And today's message is all about why courage is synonymous with vulnerability and why you need to really know this and live this. And it has been one of the most brilliant lessons I feel like I've learned in my life, and I continue to help and guide others to really get this concept, because most of our power is being held up in the fact that we are resisting our own ability to be vulnerable. But it's in our inability to be vulnerable that we become weak. That's really where weakness is. And it's this sort of, contradiction going on where we believe, we have it in our subconscious that in order to be, if we are vulnerable, it means that we are showing weakness. And I know you guys have probably heard this time and time again, but I really feel like it's a powerful message to reiterate. I talk into, the fact that I really believe that courage is our greatest human strength. The ability to be courageous, courageously vulnerable is our pathway to power. But so many of us get stuck in this mindset of thinking we can't be vulnerable, we can't show vulnerability, we can't own our emotional experience because that is a sign of weakness. And we go through life with this misconception that ultimately prevents us from experiencing depth in our connections, in our relationships, in experiencing new heights in our potential, our success, in our career. Wherever we're going in life, you will find that the most courageous, brave acts are coupled with vulnerability. They are synonymous. Courage and vulnerability are absolutely synonymous. And we can't have one without the other. If we are expecting ourselves to be brave, courageous, take risks, then we are going to have to get vulnerable. And this concept is a big one that I love talking into on multiple different levels, and I couldn't decide exactly which way I wanted to go with you guys. So it might be a few different ideas that I really want to share with you around the concept of courage and vulnerability being synonymous and why you really need to know that. But ultimately, what happens is when we have that mindset of just feeling like courage, that vulnerability is a weakness, and that in order to be strong we need to not show vulnerability. What happens is we end up repressing our emotions and suppressing them on a deeper level, and what happens is we become powerless, and we think we're trying to be powerful, we're trying to avoid the very thing that we think is going to take away our power. We're trying to avoid that, but ultimately what's happening is it is keeping us stuck, limited and weak, because we are not able to get vulnerable even with ourselves, to be able to own and witness what our emotional experience is so that we can actually move through it and move beyond it. And so what happens is when we suppress all of those emotions from that perspective of not wanting to lose power through vulnerability, then ultimately what happens is we opt for the emotion of anger, and we try and control, and we get angry. We try and assert power over those around us and situations around us, thinking that, we will gain power by doing so, but ultimately we do it because we're powerless. Anybody who operates from a real place of anger and hostility and attempt to control is really just that whole concept around it's the smallest dog that has the biggest bark. It's coming from a place of trying to make up for how powerless it feels. So we try and assert this anger, this control, and this power on the external, which ultimately just serves just to leave us even more powerless, where we just operate from this realm. We create the experience in life that we're not even looking to create in our attempts to get powerful and more powerful and resist being vulnerable and owning our emotional states and experience. And ultimately it leaves us more and more powerless. And so my hope is that today's message helps you to own vulnerability as your greatest human strength. There is nothing you need more courage to do than to get vulnerable, and you need to start with getting vulnerable with yourself. own your emotional experience, particularly if you find that you are somebody who consistently engages in anger and frustration in your daily life, whether that's toward yourself or towards others, and you find you just get irritated over the smallest things and you feel like you're out of control. It's because you've been suppressing your emotions for I don't know how long. You know, whether you've just been suppressing an emotional experience for the last week, year, 10 years, your whole life, whatever it is, you've got to do the work on you. And that starts with you just owning, witnessing your full emotional experience just with yourself. Get vulnerable enough to look and face your fears, because when we face our fears, that's where our journey towards true empowerment and strength really is born. So you've got to open up the floodgates to be vulnerable if you really want to be in control in your life, and stop seeking it in these external sources that ultimately you really can't control. And you know, if you're honest with yourself, it's not working for you. So you've got to, come from that place of empowerment. I know if you're watching a video like this, then you want to reach a new level of your potential. You want to succeed. You know you've got something more to give, experience, do, share, all of that stuff. So in order to get there, you have to know that courage is your way there. And in order to be truly courageous and brave, you have to up-level your ability to get vulnerable. And that starts with getting vulnerable with yourself. Once you can build strength in terms of witnessing your own emotional experience with compassion, with acceptance, you can actually get vulnerable and courageous with those around you. And your journey in life towards a new level of your potential, it starts with your ability to be courageous, take action in the face of fear. And in order to face your fears, you have to get vulnerable, firstly with yourself and then with the external world. And that is where all of your strength is laying. It's residing there. And your weakness, you're going to continue to feel more and more disempowered, more and more weak, until you get to a place where you can consciously and courageously own your emotional experience by being vulnerable with yourself, with compassion, with acceptance, so that you can move past that and access the life that you know you're born to live and the person that you know you truly are. So I'm hoping that today's message has inspired you to get courageously vulnerable with yourself. Own it. Some of the biggest breakthroughs in my life have been times where I just had to stop racing around in my life and try and distract myself with all of these different things, and actually just sit with myself, recognize I was avoiding my fears, not facing my fears, and get courageously vulnerable with myself. Either, for me, it took me sitting and just breathing and owning it, and also, journaling about it in my own space. So I don't have to get out there and get vulnerable with everybody else until I can own it within myself from a place of strength, and then share it. And there's so much power in being able to do that. And I really hope that this message inspires you to get brutally honest with yourself, like always, and own what's really going on for you. Recognize that if you've got some unhealthy patterns playing out in your life, if you're finding yourself with some addictions, with some distractions that are unhealthy in your life, it's because you're avoiding something. So you might as well take the time now to step up with courage and vulnerability toward the self and own what you're currently avoiding. Face those fears so that you can move past them. The only way out is up and through. Up into a higher level of who you are, operating from asking yourself, what would my higher self do right now? Operate from that place and move through the emotion. There's no point in trying to detour around it. You already know what that experience holds for you. It just makes things stack and stack and stack, and you feel weaker and weaker until you break through with courage and vulnerability. So hope that this message has been resonating with you guys today. I hope that it's serving you. I hope that it's getting you thinking, getting you shifting your perspective, which is always my goal, to sort of bring a new concept and idea in the hope that it will add value to you and get you in a state of higher levels of empowerment so that you can ultimately reach your limitless potential, or get to new levels of your limitless potential. And what I wanted to say to you also was, if you haven't already, make sure that you come on over and join the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community. We're doing amazing things in there. Extraordinary people keep joining day in, day out, and it's so brilliant to see the connections, the experiences. People are getting courageously vulnerable in sharing, and we're all supporting and challenging each other to new heights of our limitless potential. And I'd love to have you guys in there, and so would all the amazing human beings. We're really making some great connections, relationships, and it's a beautiful experience and place to be. So I'd love to have you in there, so make sure that you join. And I want to definitely check in with you guys and see who's been able to join me. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, make sure that you're dropping them below. I'm going to go through it now, engage with you guys like I get so much energy from. So Angel's here, and Yvette, haven't seen you for a while, love having you back. And Ram, I love seeing you here each day. And Saprit and Lizzie and Nancy and Jeremy and Eric and Evan and Naomi and Alex and Elliot. When we open up, we are vulnerable. Yes, absolutely. But that vulnerability, I want you to shift your perspective and your definition on vulnerability. If it has been that vulnerability is a weakness, vulnerability is costing us our power, it's the complete opposite. And the sooner we make that shift, knowing that vulnerability, nothing great was ever achieved in this world without a level of vulnerability, courageous vulnerability. So I challenge you to really shift that perspective. Make sure that you recognize that vulnerability is our absolute greatest strength in the world. It is what creates great connections, helps us spread a message of love, connects deeply, and gets us to a new level of our potential, because we've got to jump into an environment where we've never been before, and if we want to succeed and get new heights of achievement, success, brilliance, all of it. So thanks so much for sharing here, Elliot, and Judy's here, and Saprit. Thank you for your kind words there, and Ashley. And Ram, I love that you're connecting with all the lovely people in here. Thanks so much for the shout out. And Andy's here. And yes, I love that you think it's a very important topic, Ram. I think that it's absolutely one of the most important topics that we can have a conversation about as human beings who are looking to consistently reach new levels of our potential and definitely grow ourselves and contribute at higher levels and make this world a better place. We have to have vulnerability and courage at the forefront of our conversations. So I love that, Ram. And Jason, thanks for being here, and love that you're finding this important as well, Eric. And Paula and John and Marlon, thanks for being here. And Tish, yes, nice topic related to us and the people around us. Absolutely. And John, fear, face everything and rise. I love it. Absolutely. And Mike's here, and Ram, this is an enlightening perspective of courage and vulnerability. Grateful to hear that. And Fan, yes, so true. Because accepting that you are vulnerable keeps you genuine, yes, which keeps you true and humble. Yeah, if we are humble, we will listen. If we listen, we will learn. When we learn, we will teach. I absolutely love your words there, Fan. That was so beautifully put. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here. It helps all of us, including me. I love hearing your wisdom that you guys all share with me. It's so inspiring, and I'm loving that you're loving the talk, Fan, and I love that you're here. So thanks for being here. And Shane's here, and Brian, thank you for staying so insightful and energized. Have you heard Brene Brown talk about the poem about vulnerability, The Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt? I actually don't think I have heard that, but I absolutely love Brene Brown, and she is just the go-to on vulnerability. I know, Brian, I think you shared the TED Talk of Brene Brown in the Limitless Potential Inner Circle community. Such a brilliant move to make for all of us, and I love that, Brian, and you're so welcome, and I always appreciate you being here so very much. And I'll have to check that out, the poem. That's awesome. Can't wait to check that out. And Ram, it's like you're ready to take those required risks. Absolutely. And recognizing that risks are our pathway to, growth, so we have to be willing and able to take on new risks, and we do that by being courageously vulnerable and getting outside of our comfort zone. So I love that, Ram, and Carolina and Kristen and Roy and David, thanks for being here, and Anus, high energy, love it. I love that you're loving it, and Fernando, grateful that you're finding this a good message, and Bobby and Annette, thanks for being here. And Ram, I think when you accept vulnerabilities, you put courage to right use. If not, we may end up using vulnerabilities just as excuses. Yeah, so there's a differentiation between courageous vulnerability and vulnerability, a neediness. So I like to define there's two. So there is courageous vulnerability is what we can share with others once we've been able to be courageously vulnerable with ourselves, and we are coming from a place of strength, sharing from a place of strength that allows us to, continue the momentum of building higher levels of vulnerability and courage within ourselves and helping guide other people on that path and be that role model. And then there's the version of vulnerability, which is really just seeking, it's coming from a needy place, it's coming from a victim mindset, which is trying to share in order to get something, and it's trying to get that power that, it's trying to fill that void that only it can truly fill from within. It's trying to get somebody else to fill that for it. So there are those two versions of vulnerability. There's true vulnerability, there's needy vulnerability. So I don't want to go too deep into that, but I hope that sharing that perspective is of value, and I always appreciate you, Ram. And Jeannie's here, and Jean and Brett and Josima, nice of you to join me. So guys, that really is my message for you guys. Josima from Brazil, I love it. So guys, I really hope that today's message gets you thinking about how your vulnerability is your absolute greatest strength as a human being. And the more we can tap fully into vulnerability with strength by first being courageously vulnerable with ourselves and sitting with our emotional experiences, not suppressing them. Suppressing only serves to keep us stuck in a loop where we get addictions, where we get unhealthy patterns, and ultimately prevents us from reaching our highest potential. So in order to grow and progress and contribute at our highest levels, we need to make vulnerability and courage, the forefront of our growth. So really hoping that this is resonating. You're so welcome, Ram, and Margarita, I hope you catch the recording, get a ton of value. And Eric, thanks a lot, Vanessa, because I'm brokenhearted. I said things I wasn't thinking for real, and my girlfriend, she's gone, so I'm very vulnerable now, and your words help a lot. I'm so grateful to hear that, Eric, and my heart goes out to you. I know it's so difficult making these transitions in our life, particularly in our relationships, and particularly when we're holding on to our regrets and feeling like we've done the wrong thing. And so what I would encourage you, I love that you're here, Eric, and I love that you continue to show up, and like I said, I honor you on your journey. And what I would encourage you to do is, instead of holding on to the regrets of the past, find the lessons and the value and utilize them for your own personal growth to move forward, and know that and feel grateful for what's happened, because it's made you a new higher version of yourself. I really do believe that everything is happening for a reason and a purpose that serves us. Nothing is happening to jeopardize our highest potential, but unless you learn the lessons on that journey, you won't take the value that is being presented to you. So find the lessons, Eric. Keep being loving and compassionate towards yourself. Start getting more courageously vulnerable in owning your emotional experience right here, right now. And if you need to do some work on how you handled that in terms of what was your emotional experience, come with higher levels of compassion, courage, vulnerability, not regret, doubt, and judgment. So I love that you're sharing that with us all here, Eric. Appreciate you so much. If you want some extra guidance and support on that, definitely make sure that you're sharing that experience. I know you're part of the Limitless Potential Inner Circle community. Share with us in there. We'd love to help and support you. That's what it's all about. And definitely, if you feel called to, jump on a 15-minute power session with me. I'd love to connect with you and see how I could best support you. And good morning to you, Naeem, and Kane's here, and Jan, and Eric. You're so welcome. Much love to you. I appreciate you, my friend, and keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep seeking support, and keep being compassionate. So guys, that is it from me today. I hope that today's message has served you. It's resonated. I hope it's got you thinking about stepping more fully into your courageous vulnerability so that you can reach higher levels of your limitless potential. And make sure that you come on over and join the Limitless Potential Inner Circle Facebook community. We'd love to have you a part of it. Click on the link that I've put on today's video. Request to join. I'll accept you. It'll be amazing. And I am sending you all of my love, light, blessings, gratitude, energy, enthusiasm, everything extraordinary coming to you to wherever you are in the world today. I'm super excited as always to get to engage with you, get to see who gets to join me, and make sure that if you have any questions, comments, feedback, and you're listening to the recording later on, make sure that you drop them in the comments below, and I will get back to you guys as well. And I'm sending you all of my love, and I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. It'll be a really early one for me tomorrow because I'm jumping on a plane and I'm getting back to the States, and I can't wait. But I'm going to do one of these 5 or 6 a.m. my time Facebook lives for you guys so that I can make sure I get a message of value out to you. And I can't wait to see you then. So hope you can join me then, and I'm sending you all my love. See you guys nice and early tomorrow.